Hey there, it is Tuesday the 18th at 4:23. I don't know why I announce the date and time when I jump into these videos, but hey, that's what I do. So today I wanted to talk about being a digital retailer and what that means, what it means to think like a digital retailer. And specifically, I want to talk about staffing and uh, a common conversation that I've been having with my dealers lately. And when we do business with dealers, a lot of times what we're doing is we're not just a website provider, we're also their digital advertising company. And a lot of times we are their advertising agency. Sometimes we work alongside with other agencies from a full service standpoint, but we handle it all. Website, digital retailing, all of the tools, search engine marketing, social media marketing, video, display, email, connected TV. So a full featured solutions partner. And really what we thrive on is being a consultant for a dealership, to be a partner for a dealership, to really understand how the website is a core part of their overall operation, how we can drive traffic to the dealership website, convert those customers into leads, get those customers into the CRM, and then ultimately schedule an appointment, get those customers to visit the dealership showroom, and then hopefully convert those customers into sales, right? So a lot of times when I'm talking to some of our core dealers is looking at and identifying the gaps, figuring out where there is opportunity to do a better job with what we're converting into leads. And a lot of times, I think if you've noticed before, a lot of times I say that it's not the leads, it's something else. And a lot of times what I'm starting to figure out is that a lot of dealerships don't have the amount of people necessary to handle the opportunities that's coming into the store. This kind of actually does, hold on one second, I'm gonna turn my volume down a little bit here, make sure I'm not screaming at you. This kind of goes in contrary to what some standard thinking might be. And what I mean by that is if you're looking at your internet close ratio, let's say you're sitting at 5% and you know you want to get your internet close ratio to 8%, or if you're sitting at 8 and you wanted to get it to 10, or you're sitting at 10 and you want to get it to 12 or 13, whatever the numbers are, whatever the gap is, the way a lot of dealers may think, and a lot of marketers or operators might think, is that I want to make sure I want to get my closing percentage up to, let's say, from 5 to 8 before I think about adding more people to be able to take that opportunity. And I think that's backwards thinking. I think a lot of times what's happening is a dealership is getting more leads than they can handle, and their team is kind of taking the cream off the top of those lead opportunities, and they don't have time or the ability to really work all of the leads that are coming into the system. So what ends up happening is you're underperforming, not because you have too many salespeople, but you're underperforming because you don't have enough. So in today's video, I want to figure out and share with you some ideas on how you could be looking at your organization to find out, do I have enough people? What is the math that I'm using for people and product and opportunity? And share some of my philosophy around how you can look at your business maybe in a little bit different way than you're doing right now. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, but in this case, I'm going to share my iPad screen. And this is so I can take some notes as we are chatting today. But before I do that, I'm going to take a little sip of my gingerbread coffee that I have today. That is some good stuff. Okay, so my philosophy, of course, the first thing that you need to think through is if you're looking to increase your overall production, let's say that you're at 120 units right now and you want to figure out how you can get to 180. You want to see a nice 50% increase. Maybe you feel like you're underperforming in your market and you have the opportunity. The first thing that we need to figure out is, do you have the product? And a great way to look at this is to look at your overall days supply. Do you have the ability to be able to close that gap from a product standpoint? And this is going to apply to new cars as much as it's going to apply to used cars. If you're already running at a 20-day supply on new cars and your competition is running at a 30-day supply, it's going to be a little tougher to make that happen. Same thing for used cars is if you're running a really tight day supply, you don't have the availability of product to be able to sell to customers when they come in. That is going to be a core area that you're going to want to figure out. So let's just assume that you have the product. And we're not going to be talking about a product issue. We're going to be talking about an opportunity issue. So we're going to talk about people. So how can you figure out how many people you need to have and how many opportunities per person to be able to get to your goal? I was having a conversation with a dealer a few months ago, and I asked him how many salespeople he had. He said he had 15 salespeople. And I said, what is your overall goal for sales? And he said he wanted to sell 300 vehicles per month. And I said, what is your average salesperson selling on a 90-day average? And he said, well, about 20 units a month. And I go, I mean, that would be great. And there's probably dealerships out there that have their entire sales staff selling on average 20 units a month. And in this case, if I have an average of 20 units and I have 15 salespeople and I know that I have the enough product, you're already more than 50% there to be able to figure out how to get there. But the reality is that if you actually look at what your average salesperson does and use that number to identify where you need to be, I think you're going to find that the only way that you'd be able to get to your goal of, say, 300 and you only have 15 salespeople, that every salesperson has to have almost a record month. Everything needs to align for you to get to your overall goal. If you have 15 salespeople and you do the math, you go back through your sales, you look at what your average salesperson has done over a 90-day running average, and let's say that you find that is going to be 12. Well, you can easily do the math, right? 15 times 12, that's going to give us, let's just go ahead and do that math. Sometimes when I'm sitting on a video in front of me, my maths don't want to work, but we got 15 units times 12 units, 180 units. So now we have 180 units is kind of our throughput. Our bandwidth is going to be 180 units based on real math. So what I would suggest, and I just realized that now with the new iPad, I think you can automatically have it do the math for you. But I'm not sure how to do it. All right, so, there it was right there. So anyways, so what we need to figure, and what I would be looking at is, if I'm going to be pushing the envelope, if I want to be doing more, I want to structure my team in a way that is going to allow me to get to where I want to go. We know that you're going to have people that are going to skip days, that are going to call in sick, that's going to go on vacation. So we need to think through what that average actually is in order for you to get to your goal. And of course, we want to think about push goals, right? We want to make sure that we're planning for worst case scenario so we can get the best results possible. So many dealerships are using 10 units per month. This is something that's been around the industry for a long time. 10 units a month is what you can figure on average a salesperson is going to deliver for you. So if I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get to 300 sales, I'm going to need 30 people to be able to do that. So product, people. And the next thing that we want to talk about is if we have 30 people, we have to make sure that we're talking about opportunity, right? So with the opportunities, how many opportunities do we want to figure each salesperson is going to be able to handle as those opportunities come in? Now, if we look at kind of our internet past and we think about, well, each salesperson should be able to handle 70 to 100 leads per month, I think that is way too much. I think if you're planning on your salespeople handling 70 to 100 leads per month, the opportunity of those leads that are coming into the store are going to get underserved. So we think about, I would say, maybe using a value of 50 leads per person. So if we have 30 salespeople times 50 leads, that's going to give us 1,500 leads per month, internet leads. In addition to that, we're going to have phone calls and we're going to have walk-in traffic. So 1,500 internet leads, we need to have 30 salespeople. So each one of them is handling 50 each. And that's going to allow us to get to our goal of 300 sales. So as we think about this, we're looking at product. What is your day's supply? People. Did you do the math to be able to figure out how many salespeople you need to get to your goal? Opportunity. And of course, we have, how many internet leads are coming into the dealership, how many phone calls are coming into the dealership, how much walk-in traffic is coming into the dealership. So we're looking at being a digital retailer, whether you're a dealership that is having a dedicated internet sales staff, whether you have a blended staff that's going to take inbound phone calls, walk-in traffic, and internet leads, doing the math. And the last piece here is accountability, making sure that you are holding your people accountable. And I want to share a story as we get wrapped up here. I'm going to share a story about really the last time I was in automotive retail, when I was actually working in a store before starting this company. This was a big Toyota store. I was actually the #1 employee hired for that dealership, kind of the perfect opportunity. It was a brand new open point store. It was a dealer development store. It was a single point dealership group. I was hired as the #1 salesperson out of, I want to say dozens, if not over 100 qualified applicants. So this is almost 20 years ago now. So I would have been in my mid-30s, and the dealer principal chose me, not necessarily because of my pedigree, of my resume, although I had the opportunity to work in some really great stores and work for some really great people, but it was based on my overall vision. The vision based on what I did with the e-pencil technology, what I had done with some other retail stores, and what I did with the training that I did with the sales training organization that I worked with. The vision was to build this store to outperform what the planning potential was. The manufacturer said the planning potential of this store was 1,150 units per month for new cars plus used cars. I really felt that based on the location of this, the location in the metro that it was in, and the opportunity based on working in that metro that I really felt like I could deliver double that from a new cars perspective plus used cars. But it was really going to come down to product, people, opportunities, and then accountability. So the first thing is I made sure that I worked with the manufacturer, and as being a new open point, we had crank up cars. These cars were a special allocation that was set aside for this dealership if they needed to have the inventory over the first few months. And what I said is, you send them all. We'll figure out where we're going to park them, but send them all. I wanted to make sure that I had all of the product that I needed on the ground so I could hit the ground running as fast as possible. The next thing is I had to make sure that I had enough people. And what I did is I backed into it and I used 12. So I set up 360 sales per month. So as we got things cranked up, 300 new cars, 60 used cars, until we were able to build up the used car inventory, and then we could add to those, add to the team. What I did was instead of doing this traditional 2-team structure, I went with a 3-team structure, which gave me 2 teams of 24 people at the store every single day, except for Saturday, which I had 36 people because I had all 3 teams on. Each team had a sales manager, and that was supported by a 10-person BDC and a 6-person finance department. So for us, looking at selling 360 vehicles, looking at a sales staff of 36 salespeople times 12, and then I just backed into the opportunities that I need for phone calls, for internet leads, for walk-in traffic. And then I used accountability from holding myself accountable to make sure that I'm creating enough opportunities for internet leads, for phones, and for walk-in traffic. I held my salespeople accountable based on a running 8-car average over a 90-day period. And if they couldn't sell an 8-car average over a 90-day period, we either move them to a different department or we let that salesperson go. So had that structure in place to make sure that I had the right people doing the right things, had the right product, the amount of people, the amount of opportunities, and made sure that we had some accountability in place. So what am I talking about today? I'm talking about you're looking at growing your business, maybe going from 150 to 180 units, trying to pick up where is that extra 30. You want to move from 150 units a month to 300 units a month. If you have the product, the next thing you need to look at is your the amount of people that you have. A lot of times, if you have a really low internet close rate, and we're talking about digital retailing. So if you have a low internet close rate, it doesn't mean that you have you don't have enough opportunity. If you're not selling enough cars, it may be that you have too much opportunity for the amount of people that you have. And they're looking at just taking the cream off the top. They're never going to be able to move the needle to get you to where you want to go unless you have enough people based on how many leads per salesperson that you have. I would love for anybody out there that's paying attention to this right now, in the comments, do me a favor and let me know what your ideal leads per internet salesperson is. Is it 50? Is it 70? Is it 100? Is it 35? I have one dealership that I work with, super high performer. They're north of 13-14% from a closing ratio every single month. They are 30% plus on phone calls, closing percentage, 50% on showroom traffic, just a super high performer, month in, month out, very heavy process driven. They're looking at 35 leads per internet salesperson, and they're just not going to cover off the ball. I'd love to hear your the amount of leads per internet salesperson. Please hit that below. Hey, I always appreciate the opportunity to be able to share this information with you. Of course, you're going to find this video and many others at entice.com.